Imagine a world where the NFL treated injuries like the NBA. In a sport where injuries are expected, the recovery process in the National Football League is always fast-tracked. Have you ever seen someone get hurt during a game and your first thought was, yeah, he's done? Maybe done for the game, maybe done for the season. But at the moment of injury, you can tell it was pretty bad. Maybe you have wondered why NFL teams never let their players fully heal. Trust me, I get it. You only get 17 chances within 18 weeks to secure a spot in the playoffs. But after making a large investment into a player, or even seeing star-like potential in a player, wouldn't it make more sense for that asset to recover for a greater future? Wait, did you hear that? That was every GM in the NFL hitting the no buzzer. Nobody's willing to wait. Even though every team has players in place to back up each starter, teams are reluctant for those players to see extended play. The reasoning behind that logic is the NFL is a what have you done for me lately type business. From the top of the organization to the bottom, everyone is feeling pressure. The owner feels pressure to produce for the city, the GM for the owner, the coaches for the GM, players for the coaches, etc., etc. It's a never-ending loop. So it's more likely that we see a starter at 60% instead of his backup who is closer to 100% healthy. And when an injury occurs, even though a starter is loved and revered, more times than not, he feels pressure immediately to return. One moment you're regarded as the future, and in a flash that spot is looked at as in jeopardy. I fully understand the competitive nature of the professional sports world. Injuries have opened doors for some of the greatest players in the history of the NFL. And while that's just the flow of the game, that is also not quite what I'm talking about. Come on, let's figure this out.
He's heating up!
Do you remember when Kevin Durant tore his Achilles during the NBA Finals? It was devastating. During the most crucial stretch of the season, a superstar suffered a major injury, which most doctors would say usually takes up to a year to return to action and even longer to return to form. There was a slight panic, because this also happened during a contract year for Durant. But this didn't deter the Brooklyn Nets from signing him to a 4-year, $194 million contract, only 2 months later. Now, let's look at Kirk Cousins, who suffered the same injury during Week 8 last season with the Vikings. The Atlanta Falcons gave Cousins a 4-year, $180 million deal, with $100 of that being guaranteed. A little different than a fully guaranteed deal for Durant. Oh, and a slight difference is, KD was given a full year to rest and recover before ever suiting up with the Nets. Kirk Cousins will be expected to lead the Falcons to the playoffs starting in Week 1. Yeah, that's actually a big difference, which isn't surprising at all based on the normal NFL standards. Week 1 of the 2024 season will take place in the second week of September. Kirk was hurt on October 29th, 2023, which is less than a year apart. His return date is completely possible, and we have seen it done. But I'm sure Durant appreciated the extra time to heal when given the opportunity. It just makes me think. The NFL has seen a lot of talent come and go due to injuries. Recently, former Offensive Rookie of the Year, RG3, spoke on the biggest regret of his career, and he said,
I would say the biggest regret of my career is probably playing in 2013. Everyone remembers, if you don't remember, I tore my ACL in the playoffs after the 2012 season against the Seattle Seahawks after we were up 14-0. Coming back and playing that season, pretty much 7-8 months removed from tearing not only my ACL, but also my LCL and my meniscus in my knee, is something that I don't think I should have done. I don't even want to say that. I know I shouldn't have played that year. But when you're a player and you're in fight or flight mode, you're always going to choose to fight. And I fought to get back for my teammates. I fought to be there for them. And I gutted it out that entire season, despite going back and looking at the film and understanding that I was nowhere near 100%. And I wasn't able to be as mobile as I was in my rookie year, simply because of the brace, but also because of the magnitude of the injury. I think it's a lesson that I learned from my NFL career that I apply to my life even to this day. Sometimes we want something so bad that we're willing to hurt ourselves for it. But there's a difference between doing something because you love it and doing the smart thing.
Should more players be given time to fully recover from these types of injuries, or is it best for them to return to the field as quickly as possible? Back in January, after the Atlanta Falcons season ended, Kyle Pitts posted this caption on Instagram: all 17 games post MCL, PCL surgery. We taking that as the first win. Then had my beautiful son. To all my brothers, love y'all. Because we went through our fair share of stressors, but stood tall for each other. Year 4 is going to be prolific. If you saw Pitts play last season, it was pretty easy to see he was toughing it out, because he was injured. When healthy, we saw Pitts produce a 1,000-yard season in year 1 as a rookie. But since then, there's been a combination of injuries and questionable quarterback play limiting him. I don't think he was used properly in the Falcons scheme with Arthur Smith, but even if he was in the best system, his movement was not smooth or fluid as anyone would like to see from the number 4 pick of the 2021 draft, a pick that made him the highest selected tight end in the history of the league. When healthy, Pitts has all the traits to be a game changer. He can run, he can jump, he's a matchup problem. But if he's limited, that threat is gone. Too often we see players battling through injuries to play as a lesser version of themselves when it's not necessary. Football is a gladiator-type sport, and from the first time you put on the pads, you're taught to get up when you're knocked down. You're taught to suck it up and lay it on the line for your team. Toughness is gauged by availability. Those principles will not and should never change. But running your body into the ground because of the pressure of losing your spot or good graces within the organization is bad management. And to be very clear, there's a big difference between being hurt and injured. If you are hurt or a little banged up, dust yourself off and let's get it. If you're injured and it's clear your performance is hindered, all parties need to recognize this and do what's best for the player and team. There's a reason teams have backups. GMs should trust their scouting department more often in situations like this. And if they can't be trusted to find quality players, they should be replaced. Recent rule changes to the injury reserve list also help with this issue, as now 8 players a year can be designated to return to action after spending up to 4 weeks on the list. The time is now to maximize players' careers by building better rosters and creating healthier environments for these high-class athletes to thrive. The average NFL career is 3 years. Sometimes it takes 3 years to learn how to play at the highest level. An injury shouldn't stop this progression due to the urge of pushing through for the better cause of an organization. Consistency wins championships. Turnovers lose games on the field and off as well. Thank you.